Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to introduce a new crystal, or should I say stone, to the family of our crystals so far. And that one is going to be this little dude here. It's Lapis Lazuli. This is not a very big piece, but it's one of the bigger ones that I have just because of the cost of these stones. Um, Lapis lazuli is usually classified as a receptive stone, and that generally means that it's going to be more feminine in its energy, and it tends to resonate with the element of water. But there's a trick to this one, because even though it tends to be water and feminine, the metal that is most commonly associated with lapis lazuli is gold, which is very masculine fire energy. So it's generally seen that lapis can bring balance to situations. In here, kind of a little rattle jar, there is more of the gold aspects. You can see some of this flex, and that's iron pyrite, and we'll get into that here in a second. So, as a stone that resonates primarily with the divine feminine, lapis is associated with the different romance goddesses usually, but it's Venus, Isis, and Nuit, which are love and protection energies primarily, and so that's kind of the name of the game. There's a little bit more we'll get into here in a second, but that's a really good baseline if you're looking for a balancing stone or something along those lines. So modern practitioners tend to see, if we're going outside of the goddess realm, the Archangel Michael as a primary aspect associated with lapis, and that makes sense if you view the gold with the masculine energy, so that does fit. But when I've worked with lapis, and I've worked with it for a while, like this little guy here I've had for about 15 years, I always end up having Archangel Gabriel, come through, and she's more associated with the element of water, so generally you'll still get that balance if you work with them. The other part that the angel that I've had come through, is Archangel Metatron, and usually when I'm doing just specifically meditative spiritual aspects of my personal journey, that's when Metatron will pop in. If I'm using lapis, Metatron will show up a lot anyway, but with this stone, that's one of the things that I have found. So when we look at the history of lapis lazuli, most people think of Egypt with the mummy masks and things like that, but it actually goes as far back as the ancient Sumerian civilization, so well over 3,000 years from today. And at that time, lapis was seen as a crystal or stone that literally carried the soul of divinity within it. So wearing or carrying this stone was seen to celebrate the deity that was your patron, or the one that was aligned with your soul, because you were wearing the deity's soul as well. So this was pretty powerful if you really think about it, because that's not just saying, I'm wearing this because I want to remember you, it's I'm wearing this because I am one with you. And that changes the dynamic of how we would see this crystal. Also in Sumer, sorry, lapis was such a highly valued stone that it was generally seen as your signet seals. I have this little dude here, and this was gifted to me by a very dear friend, but it's got a triskelion and then the trifectas in it. But this is a more modern version. I would love to get one, but in Asia, there's a lot of shops that will do custom built little stamps you push into wax. But lapis was what the Sumerians used. It was generally carved, the top up here was carved into a patron deity, whichever one you were worshipping. And then there were words of power that they would carve here, and then the symbol on the bottom was like the family crest type of a thing. And this was pressed into melted wax or into clay to seal documents. Sometimes it was used to seal tombs. If you read the Bible, when they talk about he pressed his seal into the tomb of Jesus, that was what was being done, but that one would have been significantly larger. That would have been a governor's seal, so it would be about 3 inches in diameter, give or take. Rome was a little different on some of their seals. This particular one I've used a few times, usually to seal scrolls or jars with wax, things like that. And like I said, a lot of places in Asia still use them as for important documents, and you can actually get customized ones. And you can find these if you're looking for just a simple one. Um, at most craft stores, if they've got sealing wax, which is SEALING wax, you can find the signet seals as well. Further into the balancing energy, getting back on course here, it was once believed that the blue in the stone was associated, pardon me, with the goddess Venus, and the gold was specifically, because it was iron pyrite or fool's gold, was associated with the energy of Mars. So you're still looking at that balance energy. And this stone can be gifted to newlyweds based on the union of opposites and the reminder to keep things in balance within a relationship. Not every piece of lapis has gold streaks, like the little pyramid here does not have a lot of gold. I mean, there's some flashes you can catch right there, but it's not heavy in it. My camera won't show it, but in some of these, there are like serious gold streaks in them. So it is something that you have to make sure you're getting lapis and not one of its cousins. Lapis is dominant blue with a little bit of gray, white, and then the gold. One of his cousins is just the blue and white, so you have to make sure you get the right thing. I just lost it. But the one thing that I will say with lapis is it tends to be a little bit more expensive. That's how you can tell it's genuine versus some of the knockoffs. The larger, more intricately carved pieces can run upwards of several $1,000s depending on what you're looking at. Like if you get a big statue, you're paying money for that, like big money. But you can find smaller pieces, bracelets, unpolished chunks. Like this little dude here, I think was like $10 or $12, which sounds like a lot, but for lapis world, that's really not that big of a deal. There's a couple of things I've linked in the description if you want to check those out, and if you click through those links, that actually supports the channel. So, just a little grift there for a second. Another fun use of lapis comes from Egypt, which, like I said before, they would use it in the blue, the famous King Tut's death mask. The blue stripes on the gold, that was crushed lapis that had been reset. Sometimes it was carved into... I just lost the bug. Anyway, it was carved into different shapes and stuck inside the wrappings of the mummy, so it was used a lot for that. But there was also a couple of places I found when I was doing some research into this where they also would use it as eyeliner, and not just charcoal. It was a sign of connecting with divinity, and with that gold sparkle in it, it was also connecting to the stars. So there was a lot of interesting beliefs about lapis back in the day. So on to the magical fun part, right? So when you first pick up a piece that resonates with you, and you'll go through several, like this little dude here, there were several that went in the store I was at, and none of them, even though they were prettier than this one, they didn't click. And that's the trick with lapis, is you really can't force it to like you. You find the piece that clicks with you. If you're ordering online, that can be a little more difficult. But if you put the intention in before you click buy, that you get the piece that's most aligned with my will and my soul, the divine will usually align that for you. So if you can go to a physical crystal store, that's usually the most fun because, well, I can't really go into those because when I walk out with a bag full. I can walk in looking for this and walk out with, several $100s worth of extra stuff. So those can be a little dangerous, but even if you're doing that, go in with the intention of finding the stone that's most resonant to you. Lapis will let you know as soon as you start to, explore. They'll feel very soothing and calm. Sometimes, most of the time, for most people I know, lapis goes very cool when you touch it. Like it'll be a warm room, and this one particular stone stands out as cooling, but it's cooling in a soothing way, like a refreshing breeze or putting your toes in the stream type of a thing. But other people may notice that it warms them. It's kind of what you need in that moment is what lapis is going to respond to. So those are some ways you can find out which one connects. The other thing, and I had a friend of mine tell me about this one, and I've talked to some other people, and they say they've had the same experience. When you find the one that you connect with, especially lapis, it has this focus ability where it kind of quiets the outer mind and allows you to bring in a laser focus on some particular project. So it's got a lot of interesting little quirks with it. Now, before we hop into this next section, I have to do a disclaimer, all the online rules and stuff. Any healing concepts or thoughts or beliefs that are discussed after this sentence are historical use. They're not meant to prescribe or diagnose or any of that stuff. This is not medical advice. Most of this will be historical references that I have put into more modern terms, but that's where we're at. And you can always energy work with this kind of stuff and work at that direction, so that's how we're playing today. Lapis Lazuli, with its water energy, its divine goddess energy, and Archangel Michael or Gabriel associations, has a strong history with cooling fevers. So it's that water energy of washing out the illness type of thing. It can also be seen as a substitute for bloodstone. If you happen to have lapis but not bloodstone, they both work with healing blood issues, again working with that Mars Archangel Michael energy. So if you don't have bloodstone and you have lapis, you can use that, or you can use both if you really want to amp things up. Another fun use is if you happen to be one of the people who are online a lot, or you have to stare at a computer typing all day. It used to be believed that lapis, if you wore it continuously all day long, sleep, wake, doesn't matter, you take it off when you shower type thing, but other than that you're wearing it. It was believed that wearing lapis could actually improve eyesight. So if you are someone who stares at a computer all day, having a piece of lapis laying around is probably a good idea, but wearing it would be a better option, like a necklace or one of the bracelets or something like that. If you happen to be one of the people, and I had this for a while, and now it's a lot better, but when you first start trying to meditate, when you're doing your prayers, and then you meditate afterwards, and your mind's running laps, like just a dog chasing its tail and won't shut up, lapis actually can help you soothe this meditation journey. It brings you into a more focused mindset and allows you to be more clear on what your intentions are, or if you're working ritual, what ritual outcome you're looking for. And if you're using it for meditation, the simple way is to literally just hold it. If you have the bracelet, you can literally just cup your hand with it, or you can take it out and hold it in both hands like a mala or something, a rosary. That way you can really allow your mind to quiet and actually get into the meditative state. And it's also a strong one if you're doing prayers as well, because you can do your rosary or your mala with the lapis, and it's going to help connect you even deeper. So this is where we get into working with meditation energy, and why I said at the beginning of the video that lapis works really strongly with the Archangel Metatron, because he's the angel of ascension. So if you're struggling to open your clairs or develop your psychic abilities, or you claim you don't have them, to tell you a secret, you do, you just haven't figured them out yet. Lapis can actually help open these up and get things moving. Now, with this gentle energy, she has this ability to awaken the subconscious and kind of bypass or maybe push aside the conscious mind, which doesn't like to let go of the conscious mind. It wants to hold on. So this is how you can help loosen that stubborn hold of, this is the only way to look at something, to be like, actually there's another side to this. Lapis helps you bypass some of those short circuits in the conscious mind. And when I say you're going to open things up, it's not a forced opening. Never force your gifts to open. That's never going to end well. You want to encourage them. You want to make space for your clairs and your psychic abilities to wake up. You never want to force them. Forcing them, you may see things that you're not ready for, understand things, or hear things, whichever clair happens to be the first one that wakes up. And if it shocks you too much, you're going to shut it down. You'll never try it again. That's why you want to work with something that encourages the energy to open up, encourages this energy to wake up and bypass the conscious mind. And lapis is the stone to do that. And when we're talking personal use, you can use this in healing as well for other people. But we're mainly focusing on you as a person first. Lapis can be placed on the throat chakra, which is the blue association, but also on the third eye. Um, and it helps kind of rebalance these chakras. Sometimes it can wake them back up if they're feeling a little laggy. And the one thing with lapis is it will open up your ability to speak more clearly, so that's why the throat is good. But it also allows you to intuit better. Archangel Metatron energy here, where you're opening up doors to other things. But when you start to work with lapis, the first little bit, once you start getting really connected in and start going with the flow on that, be aware that past life stuff, sometimes it's from this current existence, things you forgot about, or it could be actual past lives, or something that needs to be brought into karmic balance may start popping up. That's not a negative thing. That is part of what Lapis is doing, is it's addressing an imbalance and bringing it into a place to be fixed. It'll never be something you're not ready for. That's the one thing I have found with this stone, is it's not going to force you to deal with trauma you haven't been able to cope with yet. It's going to bring stuff up that you're ready to deal with. Like from a child, you may not have been able to understand this. As an adult, you're like, oh, that's what that was. So be ready for some of that. It won't be forceful. It's not going to be aggressive. That's not Lapis's nature. But be aware that you may notice some of these things happening. Just giving you a heads up. Um, One of the other things going along with meditation and your clairs is either wear lapis every single day, just like for your eyesight, third eye, same thing, or keep a piece by your bed. I have a little statue that I keep next to my bed, and it's been there for quite a few years now, and it's a little lapis statue. And basically what it's going to do is help your subconscious, because you're sleeping next to it, wake up to this more intuitive side of you. And keep a journal next to your bed, keep a journal anyway, and note things as you're going through. Like when you first brought it into your bedroom, how did this start making your dreams more different? How did it trigger your intuition to be way more active during the day? And you might not notice anything for a few weeks. Play around with it and see how it works over time. So if you happen to be someone who is a healer, and a lot of people in the spiritual world end up in a healing state at some point, this stone can actually amplify the energy of your healing focus. So you can put the stone, if you have like lots of candles that you use in your healing room, if you're in person, put the stone next to the most important candle, primarily next to the person's head. Like if you have your bed laid out and there's a candle at the head of the bed, that's where you want to put the lapis as well. Or if you're working on a table, you can always put a piece underneath. You can tape it to the bottom of the bed if if you don't want to step on it or accidentally kick it. It's just that way there's another charger, I guess you could call it, bringing more energy into the session. If you happen to be someone doing distance work, you're praying for a family member or something along those lines, you can see the person in your mind's eye. See them in perfect health. Don't see the problem, see the solution. See them in the best possible way they can ever be, without any form of disease or whatever. And as you're forming this, allow that energy, if you're hold the lapis in your hand, allow that energy to go into the lapis. So you're seeing the person in their perfect physical and healthy form. You're not seeing illness, you're seeing them perfected. And then allow the stone to radiate that energy out, because what you're putting into it, lapis will amplify. So, and this is a positive thing. So as you're putting in that perfected energy, you're seeing them in the healthiest state. You're viewing them in that after they healed or before they even had disease, there's no disease left. That's how you're viewing them. Lapis will be able to project that energy into that person. You can see it in quantum physics type of a thing if you want, but we'll just call it mystic. Because as you're seeing it, you're applying it, then the stone is matching that person's energy and is helping align them to that. Again, you're not going to force someone's soul if they're done and they're checking out. You're not going to force them to stay. But what you're going to do is you're going to help them get into the environment that is most healthy for them in their healing journey. So this is kind of a fun way to do that. Getting down here on my notes. One of the other things that lapis can help with, and if you have someone in your life that is dealing with some of these things, this is something to think about. It is believed in history, and it's been used in some crystal therapy even in today, that lapis actually can help alleviate symptoms of depression. So if someone's really feeling dark and morose, and they're just having those time, and it's a period of time, a lapis bracelet that you have prayed over and put a positive spin to, or a necklace of some form, if you've get clear on your intention and gifting it to that person, they don't have to know about what you did to it, but just having the stone with them can actually help them come out of that, because it triggers the emotions to be, why are we holding this? Let's let this go. Let's get into a better space. And again, this is not for this is not to be used without medical advice. Use your doctors and stuff like that. But this is something you can do on the side to be like, okay, you're doing that, let's try this too. Because you never know, placebo effect or not, something may switch there. And it also can call forth gentleness. If someone's just really ragey and they're not sure why, and they're just angry and their emotions are bouncing around and carrying on, this is a way to help bring the emotions back into state. Calm them down, quit bouncing around, because lapis is a water energy. Therefore, it works with the emotions, it works with all that, the fun stuff that comes with that, and this will bring everything back into a more stable state. You might notice it pretty quickly, depending on how sensitive the person is, or it might take some time, but this is some of those things that can help reset a person's emotions when you're working with this stone. Now, let's look at some fun stuff. If you are in the market for a spiritual partner, and this is something to think about, a romantic partner / spiritual partner, or if you want to take the relationship you already have and you want to deepen that spiritual connection, this is where you want to make sure you have lapis running around. Lapis lazuli is used in rituals to draw spiritual lovers together. You can wear it, you can do a ritual and carry the stone after. Use your imagination, have fun with that. If you're wanting to deepen the relationship between two partners, you can have a piece on each person's nightstand. You can place it under the bed, put it up on the headboard, whatever. And put the intention, especially if in a relationship, put the intention into it that you want to deepen the spiritual bond between you and your partner. If you're single, you can put the intention into it that this is what I'm looking for in a spiritual partner, where we can be lovers as well as spiritually aligned. And then you get into that beautiful state. And lapis, like I said, can have a lot of fun work that goes along with it. And in the very beginning, I talked about being a stone of love and protection. We'll wrap up with this one. Lapis has been used traditionally as a protective stone, primarily for children, but you can use it for adults as well. And it was always attached to a gold chain or a gold wire, and then that was tied around the child's neck, loosely of course, to protect them as they grew up. It protected from all sorts of injuries and harm, because you had the divine mothers. You had Isis, one of the strongest of the ancient goddesses, who protected children associated with the stone. So this is huge. And you can still wear it today for protection and also balance. It's recommended to have the pendant attached to something with a gold chain, or to have a gold fitting if you choose to wear a ring form of it. And the reason you want the gold there is it brings in that fire, Archangel Michael energy, that Mars energy, and it brings the Mars-Venus into balance. Because Mars-Venus, if you think about it, it's the perfection of both masculine and feminine energy. When they come into balance, protection is just a natural state. And that's what their recommendation is if you're using it for a protection, is to make sure you have something gold with it. Or if you're picking out a piece, make sure it's got the gold pyrite flakes in it. That way you're really getting that connection. So let me know if you've ever worked with lapis lazuli. Like I said, I've personally enjoyed working with it. It's a fun stone. Have you had any help or benefit from it? If you're comfortable sharing, let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. Also, in the description, I have two of my pyramids, my orgones that I make. One's a pyramid, one's a cone. And these have lapis lazuli and blue kyanite in them. And those are linked in the description as well if you're interested. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on this particular crystal, and I'll see you in the next video.